The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and look, I'm a little bit disappointed as a New South Wales supporter. They went down in Game 1 of the State of Origin series for 2024. Last night, played at Accor Stadium in front of 77,214 fans. Very disappointing, 38 points to 10. Now, it was a very disappointing result, obviously, for New South Wales fans. For Queensland fans, obviously, a great joyous occasion. Now, just want to talk about pre-game, and we have the Welcome to Country that is at major events these days. Now, I don't want to talk about that because that is something that we have got used to at major events these days, and it was a fantastic job done there by a young lady. Now, I just want to talk about the national anthem that was sung before the game. Now, that was sung by a gentleman by the name of Dylan Wright. Now, he is the Australian Idol 2024 winner, and he did a acoustic version of the national anthem. Now, I did a post on Instagram about this, whether you liked it or disliked it, and there was a few likes of this rendition of the national anthem. There was mostly dislikes of it. Now, this is no disrespect to Dylan. He is a fantastic artist and obviously is a better singer than myself. And a bit better singer than myself. He has won a national competition, and to do that, to sing the national anthem in front of 77,000 fans, look, I don't know how I would have gone. So look, this is totally no disrespect to him. He had a job to do, and this was his version, and everyone has a different version. But for me, I guess as a sporting fan, and I don't know about for players, but as a sporting fan, when at a sporting event for the national anthem, and I think it's only for test matches, origins, and the grand final that we see the national anthem being played. It is where fans, Australians in the crowd, which are mostly Australians in the crowd, they can sing along to it. I found it difficult to sing along to this national anthem last night due to the different type of version it was. And once it's completed, it's sort of like a signal for like, okay, it's game on, let's go, it's game on. But I didn't have that feeling myself, and I'm not too sure how the players reacted to that as well. There is a bit of a photo going around on social media of Jake Trbojevic as captain, just looking a little bit confused there as to the version that was played. But look, as I said before, no disrespect to Dylan. He had to do an amazing job there, but it just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess you could say. An acoustic country sort of a version of the national anthem. It just didn't do it for myself and for others. But anyway, this is not a review of the national anthem. As I said, congratulations to Dylan for having that role. No disrespect to him. It's just not my cup of tea and something that I didn't enjoy as a national anthem. But we're not there for the national anthem. We're there for the game. And look, let's get straight into it. 7 minutes into the game, there was the tackle by Joseph Suaalii on Reece Walsh. Now, it all happened very, very fast. So obviously we had to look at replays to see what had happened, where the impact was, and the severity of this tackle. Now, it happened so quickly, it didn't look good at first glimpse live. Now, I was at the game. I was a fair distance away from it, so I had to rely on the video screens to look at this, and it... Look, I've looked at it 1,000 times since, and I've tried to slow it down. I've tried to see where the initial contact was. It looked like it was in the head. I thought it might have been in the top shoulder sort of region, but it did look like it was in the head. Straight away, look, listening back to the commentary, I didn't like the way that Ashley Klein said to Jake Travojevic, I don't want to hear anything from you. It was direct contact from the head. You're off. I thought that was a bit disrespectful, but that was just me. And Joseph was sent off for that tackle. Now, it has created a lot of, I guess you could say, controversial talk in rugby league circles about this, and whether some people were for and against. I did put up an Instagram story about that, and look, I did get a little bit of feedback from that. It was also on my Facebook page as well. And look, I have had a bit of responses back about that. And 82% on the post didn't like the national anthem. Some did. 18% did like the national anthem. So that was just a little bit of a feedback that I wanted to get back from. I don't know why I'm going back to the national anthem, to be honest. Sorry, I did do a story on the Joseph Swali'i tackle, and let me just bring that one up. I did do a story on that one, and a lot of people have commented on that one. 74% say it could have been or should have been a sin bin. 26% say it should have been a send-off. Now, it was direct contact to the head, and I guess we need to protect the players in this situation of NRL, as we know the ramifications of numerous concussions with CTE and the like. So we do need to protect players these days, and it was reported as it was direct contact to the head, therefore it was a send-off. Did it change the game? Absolutely, massively it did. Queensland scored the first try through Ben Hunt in the 4th minute, and then this incident happened, and look, it massively changed the game, and it was a big spectacle, as Origin is, and I think it massively changed the game because Queensland just hammered New South Wales down that side that Joseph Swali'i was, but no longer was, as he was sent off. So they peppered that edge and scored, I think, 3 tries down that edge. Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow had a field day down that edge. So, look, is there ways that it can be fixed? Should there be ways that it should be fixed? Should it stay the same? If you get sent off, you are a man down. Could it be something like, if you do something like this is where your 18th man gets activated. Say a player stays off, your side stays down about 20 minutes, and then the 18th man can come on, and it's back to 13 on 13 to keep the spectacle in as good as it can be with 13 players on each side. There's so many massive debates going on about this. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about this. Should that send-off rule be changed to allow a player to come on after, say, 20 minutes? Or I think someone else came up with the idea of, yes, that player can be replaced, and maybe it can also be after a 15-minute period, but that also counts as one of your interchanges as well. So it plays around with your rotation on your bench of your interchange, which we all know can be pretty hectic at times. So a few thoughts about that. But look, we wish Reece all the best in his recovery. We obviously don't like to see players injured. State of Origin football is tough enough as it is. He will sit out the next 11 days of competition, so he'll miss the next couple Broncos games, which is unfortunate for the Brisbane Broncos. And Joseph Suaalii is facing, he's 4 to 5 weeks on the sideline, so I think a 4-week suspension for an early guilty plea and 5 weeks for if he wants to challenge it and fight it. So some suggestion too that this can be a longer suspension to deter these sort of acts. But look, that's enough about that tackle. Let me know your thoughts about that one. James Tedesco. Now, in my opinion, I thought he had a good game. And there was a lot of controversy about him not being selected in the original squad. He came in for Dylan Edwards at fullback after Dylan suffered a quad injury at training. So James Tedesco came in and played his 23rd consecutive State of Origin game. He scored New South Wales' first try, and at the time it got New South Wales back to 8-6 in the game, and a bit competitive there, even despite being a man down. Now, his runs throughout the game, again, Queensland peppered him with the kicks, but in my opinion, I think James Tedesco played pretty well in this game. And look, it's going to be a controversial, well, not controversial, but a hard call to make for Madge Maguire to pick his game 2 side that is going to be played down in Melbourne, whether he goes with James Tedesco or he brings back Dylan Edwards. Now, look, James Tedesco did make a couple of errors in attack, but at the time, New South Wales were down on points and they needed to score points and score quick points. So there was no thought about what sort of plays to happen. They were basically sort of tap-on plays. I think one went into touch and I think one went near the sideline. But they were both errors and James Tedesco was involved. And look, the biggest error I think that I couldn't believe that James Tedesco made, and I don't know why, but Ben Hunt's second try, basically Ben Hunt broke James Tedesco's tackle and went on to score, and I just don't know what happened there. I thought maybe Teddy would have got him wrapped up and he wouldn't have scored, but for some reason he just broke that tackle. It was very un-Teddy-like, I thought, from him, but that was unfortunate. Look, he ran for I'm just looking it up now here. And obviously he ran 21 times for 207 metres, so pretty solid effort there from Teddy. Look, in my personal thoughts, I thought he would have been in the side from day one for game 1, but he wasn't selected. I would probably... Look, it more than likely looks like Dylan Edwards will come in as fullback for game 2, but I wouldn't have a problem if James Tedesco was picked for game 2 in Melbourne. Daly Cherry-Evans for the Queenslanders. Now, 35-year-old Daly Cherry-Evans got man of the match, and it was well deserved. He played, obviously, 80 minutes in the game. He had a 40-20 at a crucial time. New South Wales nearly got a 40-20, but was denied through Xavier Coates, who basically knocked it back into the field of play. And then the very next set, this was in the second half, I believe. The very next set, DCE kicked a 40-20, so that just shows you how good he is going at the moment, and especially in Origins as well. With Cameron Munster out, who is generally the go-to guy in Origin, Ben Hunt and Daly Cherry Evans were the experienced ones in this side. And look, it probably not necessarily has been doing it at Manly level, club level, but certainly when he's come into Origin, especially over the last few years, he has definitely stepped it up and has been a real leader of this side. And this sort of football is suiting him. And look, he had his doubters when he was picked for Queensland early on, and then he missed out on selection for a long time, but he has forced his way back into this side and now is as captain. So he certainly has made his mark, especially in recent years. 442 metres in kicking, 12 kicks. And look, that was probably the difference between New South Wales and Queensland, especially the kicking games. And that was from Daly Cherry Evans. So a well-earned man of the match performance from the Queensland captain. The Nico Hines, as I said, kicking games, I mentioned that one just then. Nico Hines, I thought, had a game he'd rather forget in that number 7 jersey. Look, last season he had 12 minutes at centre for New South Wales. It was probably a debut that he wished he didn't have, but this time around he had the number 7 jersey, and as a New South Wales fan, I was disappointed with his performance. His kicking game just wasn't right. His kicks weren't going high enough to give the chasers enough time to get under them and attack for them. I think sometimes the selection of kicks was wrong as well. Look, again, I'm no expert and I'm not out there playing, so I'm not saying I could do a better job, but if Mitchell Moses, in my opinion, if Mitchell Moses was fit for game 1, he would have been selected as halfback for New South Wales. He brings back his kicking game. It is a lot, I guess, stronger than Nico's one. So he will want to hope that he gets selected for game 2. I don't think he will personally. I think he needs to go back to Cronulla football and just really set the game alight for the Sharkies and keep on their winning ways if he is going to be picked for game number 2. He missed a few tackles as well. But again, that's Origin. It's a very tough game. The Queenslanders were going to target him a lot, obviously in defence, because he was the general of the New South Wales side. So they were obviously going to tackle him. They were obviously going to target him in defence and try and tire him out throughout the game. So look, as I said, I think it was a game that Nico would rather forget, and could potentially, as I said, he'll have to go back to Cronulla, have some blistering form to get that number 7 jersey for game 2. In saying that, his halves partner Jerome Luai missed 9 tackles, so double the amount of Nico as well. So his spot in the team potentially could be questioned as well. The use of Jake Trbojevic, now we're all excited about him being captain in this for this New South Wales team. Unfortunately, though, he made 26 tackles, no missed tackles, and you'd expect that from Jake Trbojevic, but he was only used for 29 minutes in the game. His first stint was about 24 minutes. Then he was off the field for 40 odd minutes after that, including half time, and then brought on for the last 4 minutes, I think it was. So use of Jake was questioned last night. He is the captain of New South Wales. You generally expect the captain to play 80 minutes. However, in his position, you know he's not going to play 80 minutes because it is Origin and he is a front rower. So, you know that's not going to happen. But to play 29 minutes for a captain of a team, there was something wrong there, I think. Obviously, the bench rotation is probably not the best there from Madge Maguire. Obviously, hard as well with one man down. So trying to use your bench properly as well. But Jake Trbojevic, he should have played more minutes, I think. Could he have helped Queensland not score those tries? Look, potentially, although most of their tries happen from the edge, so probably not, as he is a middle player. But it'll be interesting to see how many minutes he plays in Game 2. Obviously, Game 2 will be different. We're not expecting a send-off, obviously. So Game 2 will be different. So bench rotation will be different as well. One player who was definitely good in defence, and probably one of, I thought, New South Wales' best was Liam Martin. His defence was outstanding, and he had this, I guess you could say, attitude in the game last night that he really wanted to set an example in defence, and he wanted to try and fire up his teammates in defence as well. There was a tackle on Jermaine Hopgood in the second half. First half, I think. Second half, I think it was. And first half. And absolutely smashed him. And it was textbook stuff. It was a great tackle. It obviously fired up the troops as well. But look, he made some great runs as well. Liam Martin on that edge almost looked like he was going to break the line. Look, he only ran 7 times for 71 metres, but the less of the forward pack, but he really looked like he was going to break the line at times, but he was outstanding in defence. The second half for New South Wales, look, that started pretty well. They had a good first upset, and then shortly after, Zach Lomax, he scored a try for Nico Hines' kick. Now, I said that Nico's kicking game probably wasn't the best and something that he would rather forget, but this time he got it right, and Zach Lomax scored. Now, we have seen throughout this season Zach Lomax scoring tries for St George Illawarra off kicks in that wing position, and last night for New South Wales that was no different. He scored a try off a kick, a good leap, and came down and scored the try. And overall, Zach Lomax's debut for New South Wales was pretty good. 25 runs, 224 metres, 1 try. So and 2 tackle breaks. So a pretty solid debut for New South Wales. He will probably be one of the players selected for Game 2. And look, it also raises the questions for Parramatta fans like myself. Even though he probably doesn't want to play wing, does he come to Parramatta as a winger? That's a podcast for another day, but happy for you guys to drop your comments in any post that I do. I might even do a post about it, just asking the question. But when he comes to Parramatta, does he play on the wing? Because we've seen this year, both for St George and even last night in the Origin game, just how effective he was on that wing position. He'd take the hard carries. He scored that try. So could he potentially now become a winger in club football permanently? He is this year for St George. He has had a couple of games at centre for St George, but mostly off the wing, on the wing. So look, Reece Robson as well. He was outstanding as well at hooker. look, a few people wanted to see Appy Coruscant in the side, but I don't know how Appy would have went. Reece, tackling machine. He made 50 tackles, and one of those tackles was it wasn't really a tackle. It was trying to stop a try-scoring opportunity through Jeremiah Nanai for the Queensland Maroons, where he actually knocked the ball out of Jeremiah's hands in the act of scoring. So it's just those effort plays there that the coaches notice. And look, I think he's probably done enough to maybe keep his spot in the team for Game 2. Now, look, there's probably going to be some changes for New South Wales going into Game 2. We've spoken about the James Tedesco, Dylan Edwards one. I think Brian Toto, he was pretty solid. Stephen Crichton, he was solid as well. There was a time there where he should have been moved to the right-hand side earlier, where Queensland was scoring all their tries, where Joseph Suaalii was. So he was one of the best. Obviously, Suaalii won't be there. So who replaces him? Is it Latrell Mitchell? Does he come back into the Origin fold? Well, he potentially needs to focus on South Sydney and have some outstanding performances from now until the next time the Game 2 squad is picked, and he may come back into that centre position. Bradman Best, I'm not too sure how his injury is going at the moment at the Newcastle Knights. He's not named for this week to come back and play. So he has been out for a couple of weeks, I think, with a rib injury. So how long will it be before he returns? Will he return back in time? Katoni Staggs, he's coming back from a rib injury this week. He's had, probably by his standards, a quiet season for the Brisbane Broncos, but he has played Origin before. So it'll just be interesting to see who picks up that centre position with Joseph Suaalii out of the team. Zach Lomax, as I said, he'll probably keep his position as long as he can keep on playing good footy for St George from now until then. Jerome Luai and Nico Hines will be under pressure to keep their spots. I think if Mitchell Moses can keep injury free, he will be picked for Game 2. Does that mean Nico goes to number 6? Maybe. There was a little bit of talk about that before Game 1. I don't think Nico will want to play 6. Or do you put Mitchell Moses at 6, leave Nico Hines at 7? Sometimes the positions are fairly similar. Maybe Nico might feel a bit more comfortable with Mitchell in the team as well. Just have to wait and see who goes there. There's obviously Cody Walker as well that could get a spot. He is back this week from injury. Hasn't been setting the world on fire, but just has that unpredictability sometimes in games, and that's probably what you need when the series is on the line. Jake Travojevic, he'll be there. Reece Robson should be there. Payne Haas will be there. Liam Martin will be there. Angus Crichton, he had a good game as well for New South Wales. Had the one-on-one strip there at a crucial time, trying to get points for New South Wales. Unfortunately, they lost the ball shortly after that one. But he had a good game as well. Cameron McInnes, well, look, he was solid in his Origin debut. I probably expect him to get picked again. Hamoli Olakau'atu is probably one that's under pressure for his spot. Hudson Young as well. Spencer Leniu, I think he was pretty good. I didn't have him in my original Origin side, but I think he played pretty well in his Origin debut, and he was upsetting the Queenslanders at times with some of his runs, but he was certainly in and around everything. He had a try denied and that could have been a turning point in the game if he got the ball down. Unfortunately, the hammer held him up and he wasn't able to get the ball down. So I think he might keep his spot. And the obvious one is Matt Burton as well. Do you bring him in as 5'8" to partner Mitchell Moses? He can play centre, he could play 5'8", he could play halfback, he could play lock if need be. So a lot of people saying that he should have been in game one as well. So he was 18th man and wasn't used for the Bulldogs in their game against the Newcastle Knights. Not that they needed him, and he wasn't using Origin either, so he'll be desperate to get back into that side. For the Queensland side, well, look, you probably wouldn't change a winning side, would you? Obviously, the big one is injuries or suspension, but you'd probably more than likely go along with the same team. Reece Walsh will be monitored with his concussions, and he will go through that HIA protocol over the next 11 days, so he will be monitored. You would like to think that he will get the job for game number 2, which I believe is on the 26th of June, so what's that, 20 days away, so he may get one game in for the Broncos before that time, but other than that, the other players in the side you'd probably keep, I'd say, as I said, only for injuries or suspension. Now, this game is being played down at the MCG in Melbourne, game number 2. But just getting back to game number 1 just quickly, what a coaching masterstroke from Billy Slater. Putting Selwyn Cobbo on the bench, and he actually ended up playing, and he actually played pretty well, pretty solid. He played 73 minutes. Not that he was expecting to do that in the game, but he was called upon after Reece Walsh left the field. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow went back to fullback for Queensland, and Selwyn went into the centres, so a position he plays for the Broncos. So a coaching masterstroke there. Media personalities and fans were questioning Billy Slater as to why you would pick an outside back on the bench. Well, his reasoning was 4 out of the last State of Origin games they've lost a outside back to HIA, so why not put a back on the bench just in case? Well, I think Billy can see the future somehow, because not that he predicted that there would have been a HIA to their star fullback, but there was, and it was only after 7 minutes, so pretty handy replacement to have on the field. Selwyn Cobbo, another excitement machine in the NRL. And look, I think it just shows you the difference between the New South Wales side and the Queensland side. Queensland's outside backs, they have a lot of pace, and in rugby league, that is what you need, a lot of pace, and they just have speed to burn their players. You got players like the Hammer, Murray Tuilagi, Xavier Coates, Reece Walsh when he is playing, Selwyn Cobbo. They just got speed, and that is a attribute that is very nice to have in your football team. So I think that is a little bit of a difference between the New South Wales side and the Queensland side. So that was one of the differences last night. But once Swali went off, they were just peppering that side. And some of the tries, I mean, I was sitting there watching them. They looked like a bit of a training run, to be honest. They just had like 3-4 Queenslanders in support of the player with the ball. We saw when DCE took that intercept, he did the banana kick inside, and Xavier Coates has scored the try. And it's just the support that all these players have when they make a break. There's always a Queenslander inside, and obviously with a man down, it makes it a little bit harder to defend on the edges. But Queensland just worked it out, and it took New South Wales a lot longer to work out to switch Stephen Crichton over to the other side. But look, all in all, it was a good game. As I said from the start, disappointing from a New South Wales fan's point of view and my own point of view. Disappointing result, especially at home. And especially the first game of the series. You want to get that win in the first game of the series. It's hard to win a State of Origin series being one down. It's going to get tougher for New South Wales. They have to go down to Melbourne. They have to win that one. And then they have to go up to Suncorp Stadium to win that one. And it's pretty hard for New South Wales to win up at Suncorp Stadium. So they have to take the long road, the hard road, to do that. So it'll be very difficult for New South Wales. But it's just a matter of fact now. They just have to get that done. So hopefully they'll be showing a better performance in Game 2. Look, hopefully there won't be a send-off. We don't like to see that. We want to see the best players playing. So it should be a completely different game. Look, that's my review of State of Origin game number 1, which was won by Queensland, 38 points to 10. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you've got any comments about that one or my review, please send that through. I'd really appreciate that. I love looking at other fans' point of views. Out now as well is the Peter Louie interview, the interview-based podcast that is out now on Apple and Spotify. It's a very interesting chat with Peter. He's been involved as a player as well, and also most notably as a coach at the North Sydney Bears. But for you Parramatta fans as well, there's a bit of a Parramatta flavour and connection in there with Peter coaching in the lower grades at Parramatta during the glory years at Para. So check that one out. As I said, that's available now. Episode 355 coming out over the weekend will be a game day preview of the Eels and the Bulldogs in the King's birthday game, round 14, Monday the 10th of June, 4pm that game is. So there'll be a game day preview of that one coming out. And I may even be looking at doing a Clint Gutherson podcast as well. I came up with that idea today. Clint plays his 200th game on Monday, so I may even try and do a Clint Gutherson podcast about his career so far, mostly at Parramatta. I started off at Manly, but mostly at Parramatta, so I'll try and do one of those ones as well. And so stay tuned for that one. Have got some exciting guests coming up, especially for Parramatta fans, but rugby league fans, if you like listening to content, then you'll like these interviews coming up. So I won't give them away at the moment, but for Parramatta fans, you will like it. I'm sure you'll love it, actually. So I've got one interview confirmed for next week. I did one today as well, so bit of a Parramatta flavour at the moment happening. So stay tuned to the podcast, all available on Apple and Spotify. Support the Instagram page as well. Give that a follow. Share it with your family and friends as well. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for listening. Look, enjoy your footy over the weekend. I am currently watching the Women's State of Origin game as I am doing this podcast, so I cannot miss that one. So I will be off watching the rest of this game. Currently it's New South Wales 6-0, so hopefully the Sky Blues can get the win and win the series. That would be good, especially after the men lost last night. But thank you very much for listening. Enjoy your footy over the weekend, and I hope your team wins. If it's not Parramatta, I hope your team wins. And look, a podcast, the Para Cave podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. See you next time.